Yep.
You want me
all
to
right.
take the glasses off? Would that make it easier?
You don't need them,
No.
do you, Dad? Take them
No,
off.
it really don't.
Yeah. Are you sure? Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little easier. That's great. Teddy, up in his. There you go. Okay.
Don't drop
All
your arms.
right. So, so Grandpa, can you tell us how our family wound up in America?
Okay. Well, it's very easy. My dad left Sicily. He lived near Palermo in Sicily when he was 16 years old. And he came over alone, which is in itself remarkable. Nowadays, I think if you have a 16-year-old, some of them can't even cross the street. But anyway, he came over with a letter. And what the letter was from somebody in his village. And he had written to a relative that was already living in the United States, and told my dad, who was Santo Campagna, to take this letter and bring it to a certain address in Manhattan, New York. Now, you can imagine a 16-year-old coming over and having to ask. He knew how to speak just a little English because his mother was a teacher. And inquiring around and finally finding the address, knocks on the door, and he says, he greets the person in there and hands him the letter, and the letter says, "This is Santo Campagna. Please take care of him." So he spends some time living with these people. In the meanwhile, he goes out and looks for a job, which he gets, working for about maybe $10 a week. And he has to live on this and also save enough money so he can send some money back to Italy. But this is the way he came to the United States. He was on the ship named Indianapolis, and it docked in 1906 on Ellis Island. Well, one of the stories is, and I don't know how true it is really, because I had never heard it until recently, that he got mixed up with the wrong crowd in Sicily. In other words, the mafia.
Really?
Yeah. And it was the job, so it was okay with him until they finally told him that he'd have to bump off somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
He didn't want to do that.
he didn't want to do that, so he figured the best thing I could do is
Yeah.
get out of Sicily.
And he was
Because-
16.
Yeah, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Okay? And so he says, I'm out of here. He spent a certain amount of time in Manhattan and met my girl that he finally married, my mother, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And then she had come over with her mother and her sister from Italy. Okay? And my dad and she got married, and they lived in Manhattan for a while. And then, according to the story I have, his mother-in-law and sister-in-law didn't like America. They wanted to go back to Italy. So they talked to my dad about it. He says, okay, fine. So I'll get the tickets. He got the tickets. The ship was going to sail. They got together before it sailed. He hands his mother-in-law a ticket. And he hands his sister-in-law a ticket. And that's it. They said, where's your ticket? says, "You think I'm crazy? I'm not going back to Italy. I'm staying here." So, so my mother was very disappointed, of course.
Oh, of course.
And so what they did was, instead of going to Italy, they got on a train and they went to Buffalo. And the type of work he got, he worked on a labor crew that was putting in streets. Now you'll notice in Buffalo they have quite a few cobble streets
Yeah.
with the bricks. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he started his job, and this is funny. He started his job, and he's real ambitious. He lays, just for example, 400 bricks a day,
Yeah.
and everybody else that's working on the job is looking at him. And at the end of the day, the foreman calls him over and says, "Santo, you're laying too many bricks."
Yeah.
He says, "We got a job here. We want to stretch it out." So
Yeah.
it's almost like it's happening today. Sometimes the workers,
sure.
they sort of stretch things out.
Sure. Yeah.
So this was his first job that he got.
What do you remember about your dad growing up?
Well, to begin with, he's a good worker. He was a good dad. He didn't have too much to say, but the thing is, we respected him, and when he told us to do something, we did it.
Yeah.
Because he was a good father figure, and we figured, hey, this is a guy we can trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
So and he, I might just add that we lived in Buffalo, and he was a councilman.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, the way they ran the Democratic Party, these councilmen, they had them located in different areas, and their job was to get out to vote.
Yeah.
So he would literally go and knock on doors and tell the people to go out and vote. So, and because of that, he had a little political pull.
Sure. Now, his brother was a policeman. Yeah?
No,
Oh,
my brother.
Oh, that's your brother.
Yeah.
Leo was a policeman.
That's Uncle Leo.
Yeah.
And this is where the political pull came in handy from that my father had.
Yeah.
Because up until my brother became a policeman in 1938, there were very few Italian policemen on the force. The Irish were entrenched.
Sure.
So, yeah, my brother was a policeman. He retired. Oh gosh, he retired in the 60s or 70s, I think. And he retired as a captain of a precinct.
Yeah. Wow, and he was, and that was very unusual then, to have a non-Irishman.
Yep,
as
yep.
a police officer.
And you being interested in photography would be interested in this, but I can remember my brother Joe, who ended up in the Army, was a photographer, okay? And he used to do all of his work in our one bathroom in the house.
Yeah.
And we would knock on the door, "Joe, are you done?" "Yeah." I'll be right out.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, he took a picture of Leo, my brother Leo, when he became policeman. A colored picture, mind you,
Wow.
in 1938. And
Wow.
the way Leo had to do that, he had to sit in a chair and not move. And then he took 3 shots.
Red, green, blue.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. then he matched it together and he got a photo.
Wow.
Yeah, he had it. He loved doing that.
Now, did he do that professionally at some point?
Well, Joe, my brother Joe, went into the National Guard in 1939.
Oh.
He
Wow.
was in fact he was with the 106th Armory in Buffalo on Porter Avenue,
Yeah.
and so they had their training and such. So when things heated up in Europe, they drafted them in the Army early,
Yeah, I bet.
and he went over right after the war began. He was
Wow.
in the artillery.
Yeah.
And so he spent time he went through the war, World War II, came out, and he went to Rochester Institute of Technology.
Really.
And at that time, I don't think he got a BS in photography, but he went there for 2 years.
Wow.
And then what he did was he came out and opened the shop.
Did he in Buffalo?
Opened the shop in Buffalo, and also took pictures at weddings.
Really.
Yeah, so he was really very meticulous. And then the war in Korea started. They called him back in because he was in the reserves,
Yeah.
and he was in that, and let's see. He ended up as military governor of Okinawa.
Really.
Yeah. See, at that time, we were still occupying. We had
Sure.
troops there,
Yeah. Till 58.
and they had a military governor and a civilian governor. And they
Yeah.
would work together.
Wow.
And while he was there, he had a heart attack, and they flew him immediately to the States
Uh-huh.
and put him in a hospital, and of course he got out of the Army at that point.
Yeah. Sure.
So
Wow. That's
yeah, and he went back to school. He went back. He was working on his doctorate.
even then. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Even back.
when he came back, and
Wow.
he had a heart attack, he went back. He went back to school, and was working on a PhD.
You were also wound up being drafted, right?
Yeah, well, my when I was 12 years old, I had a mastoid operation in this ear. They removed a part of my bone. Okay, and because of that, my dad told me that you won't get drafted.
Uh-huh.
I went, for my examination. They said, "Congratulations, you're in the Army." I spent a half a semester at Canisius College after I graduated from high school in 1944.
Yeah.
And then, and then by the time I graduated and got inducted, okay, the war was in Europe was winding down. It looked like we were really going to take care of Hitler. So they were training us for the South Pacific. Because that war was still raging.
Yeah.
And we took our basic training in Georgia. So,
Fort Benning.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And it was 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, we were getting ready to ship out, and they kept 2 of us back.
Yeah.
And one guy went to officers training school, and they took me because they based this on our IQs.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that we had gone to college a little. And they sent me to the University of Chicago to learn Japanese.
Huh.
And I was there. We lived right on the campus.
Yeah.
And I was there and for about 5-6 months, and then in August,
Yeah.
somebody dropped a bomb,
Sure.
and I was at the university there when they did that. But interesting point about that is that we were on the campus, and they had what they call Stag Field there, which is their athletic field where they played their football games. Okay, and we would also take our calisthenics every morning on the field. Well, we noticed something very peculiar, that around the field they had a double fence, and there was barbed wire on top of it.
Yeah.
And between the fences we can hear Doberman Pinscher dogs patrolling, okay? And never figured out what it was. Until after the war, we found out that they were working on a Manhattan Project. And what that was building the atomic bomb. And
Yeah.
what they did was they had different areas working on different parts of the bomb,
Uh-huh.
so that you didn't have it all concentrated
Right.
in one place. So they were working on part of the atomic bomb right around Stag Field and some buildings.
Yeah. Oh, that's so you were right there next to it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The
With
pile
just a
there,
fence
that's the original
between us,
big
yeah.
pile of graphite there that
Yeah,
they used.
yeah.
So you wound up. Did you wind up going to Japan?
No.
At all?
Oh, no,
yeah.
no.
So they called that off?
When they dropped the bombs, they said, well, we don't need interpreters anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to send you to Germany.
Oh, you went to Germany then? Okay.
Yeah.
Even though they've been teaching you Japanese.
Army
So-
logic.
So they gave him, no, this is typical of the Army. I'm sure you're familiar with it. But they said, okay, we're going to send you to Germany. Now, we're going to give you a 30-day leave. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So I went home for 30 days. They said, we'll get in touch with you. Gave me an address and such. And 30 days, 35 days, nothing happened. I called the number. They said, oh, yo, come on down. And Fort Dix or wherever it was. Yeah, come on down. Okay, so I went down there, and they said, who are you? He says, Edward Campagna. Oh, just a minute. And they took a half an hour to find out my file had been put underneath a box or something.
Yeah, that definitely
Yeah.
that definitely sounds
Yeah,
like
all right. And then what did they tell me? They said, oh, yeah, here. Yeah, you got a 30-day furlough coming. Go home for 30 days.
Right.
Again.
Before you go into occupation work.
Yeah. And then I came back and they shipped us over and I went in the occupational forces.
Yeah. So you were over in Germany for a few months.
Well, about just over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Then they put us on a boat and brought us back. Actually, when we went over the northern part of Germany, and it's interesting that Germany is only 450 miles deep
Yeah.
from the northern border to the southern border. Okay, and we ended down near Berchtesgaden, where Hitler.
Oh
had.
yeah. Really.
Yeah.
Eagle's Nest.
Beautiful location.
Yeah.
Nice
Of the
mountains
Alps.
all over the place and such. So I spent time there, and then they put me on a ship to send me back home, discharged me. And when they discharged me, they said, "You want to go in the reserves?"
Uh-huh.
I says, "No."
Yeah. Thanks, but no thanks. Right.
Yeah. That's essentially it.
So you came back and then you went to school.
Yeah. I had put in a half a semester in Canisius, and I went back to Canisius, finished up, and graduated in 1950 in physics.
How'd you wind up meeting your wife?
Well, she lived on the west side, and when I got out of school, you know, we were socializing the kids, the teenagers and such. I met her at a dance. The most beautiful girl there.
Yeah.
That's you, Ma.
That's you, Mom.
So we struck up a relationship. She was the type of girl I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I understand I was the type of guy she was looking for too.
Yeah. But then you didn't. Once you got married, you guys didn't hang around Buffalo very long. Huh?
That was a very,
Yeah.
very
Controversial.
strange thing.
Right. I'll bet.
Because now, when I graduated, I got a job at Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, and I spent some time out there, and then we got married on June the 21st, 1952. Okay, and while I was out there, she made all the arrangements, did a real good job, and real good secretary, and then we had it all planned that we would be married in the morning. Okay, we went through the showers and all this bit. Married in the morning. We had the car all packed. We had a nice dinner for our marriage. Okay. Then we went back, and she got ready. We got in the car on June the 21st at 4 o'clock, said goodbye, and left for Utah because I was still working out there.
Wow. That must have been. That couldn't have been easy on her family. You know, never go.
Oh, I'm sure it was a little different and difficult on the family, but
People didn't
Hey.
always do that.
huh?
Not everyone did that.
No, not. But
Yeah.
but it worked out
Yeah.
very well.
And then you worked out in Utah for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
you guys had a baby
Yeah,
out there.
we had a baby out there, right here.
Yeah.
He's just a little bigger
Yeah.
right now.
Still a baby. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Every year we can't have a baby.
No, not out in Utah. No, out in Utah. And then we came back. I'll tell you, you know what's convinced us to come back besides the family? We did miss the family. We took a trip back while we were out there. And anyone that's been out west knows that out west is pretty arid. In a desert
Dry.
and such. Yeah, dry. Okay. We drove back, or we took the train or drove back. And the further east we got, the greener it got.
Wow.
Until finally we realized, hey, look what we're missing out here as far as the vegetation.
Yeah.
is,
Right.
Besides the family. So that made our mind up about coming back, which we never regretted.
Yeah.
Never.